Hello students, thank you for clicking this video again. I'm just bringing the test series of different topics like physics, maths and chemistry for you by this forum, and I think my work will help you a lot in preparing your preparations for entrance examinations in engineering. Have a good luck for that. There are some small examples. I think they must be helpful to you. Okay, now I'm going to start this series. This is based on the questions which are generally covered in the physics. This video has multiple topics of the physics, so please watch the video and don't skip. Now just see on the blackboard, the first question I have taken here is a man grows into a giant. There's a man, he turns into a giant such that its linear dimensions increases by the factor of 9. That means his dimensions, that means his sides are increases by the factor of 9. If the density remains same, how its stress is affected. Here we have to find how the stress affected. That means by which factor the value of stress gets changed. Now we have stress. That means it is a type of pressure, and we know pressure is force per unit area. Now but here we have density and linear dimensions. So I have to just relate with force and density, etc. So we know force can also be written as mg. Clear? And mg is nothing but weight. Because whenever we opt for engineering examination test series in our entrance examinations, most of the questions get related with each other, and we have to find out the actual things which are mentioning in question, and we also have to develop a relationship. So here also I am doing that, and we know weight is what? We know a simple formula: density is equal to mass per unit volume. Clear? So that means mass is the weight. That means for the weight we have density into volume, and here our left is gravity. Clear? So in place of force, that we should place density into volume into G. In this way we reach the relationship. Now just see what we do now. And I think if you just use your thinking, you can easily now understand that we got the clue how we solve it. Stress is equals to mass into density into gravity of acceleration, and sorry, I have written over mass, that means volume. Volume into density into gravity over area. Okay. Now it is given that density remains constant, density remains same, and gravity is also remains same, that is 9.8. We just ignore that, so we left over only with volume over area. Clear? In case of volume we have dimensions LQ, and in case of area we have dimensions L square. Clear? After cancelling them we left over with only L. That means if the linear dimensions increases by the factor 9, or we can say that 9 cube over 9 square, that means we left over with answer 9. So our answer is just simply 9. So just watch that how the questions are twisted, and we have to just make out the relationships between the different quantities, so we easily get the answer. Okay, just proceed to the next question. Now watch, there's a graphical question on our screen. It is given that a particle is executing SHM, that is it undergoes simple harmonic motion. Which graph between kinetic energy and time period shows the correct relationship? That means here we have four types of graphs on our screen and we have to find which graph shows a correct relationship. So now I am going to explain one by one which graph should be matched in this question. So this is the question which constitutes our topic SHM, simple harmonic motion, along with the graphical form. So we have four types of graph here. They are showing us the different relationships between kinetic energy and the time period, and we have to tell which graph gives us a correct relationship between kinetic energy and time period in SHM. Now, firstly, what is SHM and how it goes on? In SHM, there is a bob. It goes from this position to this position. This is our mean position, and these are our extreme positions. Both are our extreme positions. Okay, and this string is attached with something. At this point, kinetic energy is maximum, and at this point kinetic energy is minimum. Okay, when the particle is at the mean position, it has the maximum kinetic energy, and at this position it has minimum kinetic energy. The first thing you should keep in your mind in order to solve these types of questions. Now, one thing more I want to tell you, that particle starts from here, goes here, then here, then here, then again here. Clear? Here it starts, t is equals to 0. This is the motion of one oscillation. At this point, this is t by 2. This point, t. Okay? Sorry, it is t by 4, 1/4. This is t by 2. This is 3t by 4. And this is t. Okay? In this way, the time goes on. When the particle reaches at this position, the time taken by the particle is t by 4. When it again comes to mean position, this is t by 2. And then after going to another portion of extreme, when it returns to mean position, it has t again. So at t0, t by 2 and t, in the graph we must have maximum positions. What is the maximum positions? That means when the displacement is greater, that means it has maximum displacement. That means if in our graph this is the maximum period. That means at t by 2, at t, the particle should be here, or t by 2. At these points the particle should be here, and this is our mean position. Clear? At t by 4, the particle should be there. Okay? So we just check which graph will satisfy this. Now just see first one. Okay? I am going to explain one by one. And this chart should remain in front of us. So in the first case, the graph is like this. That means it is given like this, and this is t, this is 0. That means if this is the displacement between 0 and t, so that this position is t by 2. Clear? So at t, it is given that it has the value 0. But according to our concept, at point t, it should also have the maximum displacement. So this graph is wrong. Clear? We have to see both conditions should be satisfied by the graph. Okay? Now just watch the second one. In second one we have in this way. I think you got the concept how we check it. This is t by 2. This is t. Clear? Only this is given in our graph. That means at t by 2 it should be maximum. At t it is maximum. But at t by 2 it is 0. But we have at both the points it should be maximum. So this graph is also not the correct representation. Okay. Now just observe the third one. I think you understand how will you study the graphs given in the question. Just see over here. Third question. It goes like this. Here I have t by 4. Then t by 2. And then t is not written over but written over here. So at t by 4 this value is 0. We know this value is minimum. Minimum means generally 0. Generally. At t by 2 it is maximum and t it is also the maximum. So this graph is the right answer. We also check for the last one graph before I am putting this question in order to tell you why it doesn't happen. Now in the fourth graph we have the graph like this. Here I have this and this and t by 2 and this is t. So just observe at t by 2 we have the maximum position, but at t we have the point 0. But it is they both should be at maximum position, so this graph is also wrong. So overall the third graph is the correct representation of this one. That means we should kept in our mind that kinetic energy is maximum at mean position. Clear? Kinetic energy is maximum at mean position. How will you remember? Just remember t by 2 and t, time period t by 2 and t have maximum displacement. Okay, now I am going to proceed on another question. Just see on the blackboard, I am going to take another question which is of the topic light. That means lens in our wave optics. The question is just like this: a diverging lens with magnitude of focal length 25 cm placed at a distance of 15 cm from a converging lens. That means there are two lenses diverging and converging, and they are placed at a distance of 15 cm with each other, whereas the focal length of the diverging lens is 25 cm. Okay, now just go forward. From a converging lens of focal length 20 cm. That means focal length of converging lens is 20 cm. Where final image is formed, we have to find the final image. That means whenever these types of questions we come along with them, we just know this is the question of lens. There's a difference between mirror and lens. In case of diverging lens, the focal length is negative. One thing we should keep in our mind. And in case of converging lens, focal length should be positive. Okay. In case of converging, the focal length should be called positive, and in diverging, focal length should be negative. Okay, I'm just trying. My drawing is not very nice, so please cooperate with me. This is the lens which is diverging, and this is the lens which is converging, and they are 15 cm apart. Okay. Now, firstly, the light travels parallel, okay, and it falls firstly on the diverging lens. So whenever there is a light coming parallel from infinity, its image should always form at the focus of the lens. Okay, so when the light firstly falls on the diverging lens, its image should be formed at the focus. Okay, now this is the image one, that when the light falls on the diverging lens, its image should be formed at the focus. And the distance of this image from diverging lens is what? This is the focal length of diverging lens. And focal length of diverging lens is for 25 centimeter. That is, we have 25 centimeter. The distance from image to diverging lens is 25 centimeter. And then this image and the distance between both lens is the total distance for the second lens as an object distance. That means the distance of object from the second lens, which is our converging lens, is the addition of the point where the image due to first lens is formed plus the distance between the two lenses. Clear? So, what is the distance of object from the second lens? Firstly, we calculate. May I rub this question now? Okay. So, object distance as object is placed in front of the mirror, so it must be taken the negative. Now the focal length of diverging lens is 25 and the distance between the two lenses is 15 centimeter. Clear? And it is given that the focal length of converging lens is 20 centimeter. This is the focal length. Okay. So object distance, that is u, is equals to 40 centimeter. Now focal length for converging lens. As I told you earlier, the focal length of converging is positive. Always remember, focal length of positive is converging. If you can't able to remember, I just tell you a trick. Converging and diverging. In ABCD, C comes earlier and D comes after that. And in mathematics, we firstly study the plus and then minus. Okay, so in case of converging lens, focal length is positive, and in case of diverging lens, focal length is negative. I think it might be helpful. Otherwise, you can remember in any way which is suited to you. So focal length here is for converging lens plus 20. Clear? Now the formula for lens, we have 1 upon f over 1 over v minus 1 over u. So this is a type of question where two lenses in which are placed apart. Okay, so be careful. Now focal length is 1 over 20. We have to find the 1 over v, where the image after converging lens is formed, we have to find. That means 1 upon u, that means 1 minus 40. It gets cancelled. So 1 upon v is equals to 1 over 20 minus 1 over 40. I think you got the clue. How will you find a image formed due to converging lens now? So in these questions you must get in your mind how the focal length etc. of the two lenses. You just remember that thing only, and after that question becomes so simple. So we have 1 over 1 minus 20 over 40. That means we have LCM 40, that is 2 minus 1, that is 1 over 40. So 1 by v. So v is 40. Clear? So as it is plus, so the image forms at right side. Image forms at right side of the lens, because on the number line this is positive. So image forms at the right side of the converging lens, and it is a real image. So I am going to proceed to another question. Now again I am going to take another type of question, which is from the chapter electricity. Okay. In the chapter electricity, we have a topic, dipole, relationship between dipole and electric field. This question is based on that topic. Firstly, we just watch over the question, then I am going to discuss the concept. An electric dipole, when subjected to electric field, E1 is equals to EI. Okay, that means a dipole is kept in an electric field where electric field is in direction of I. I means what? X-axis. For I we have X-axis, for Z we have Y, J for we have Y-axis, and for K we have Z-axis. One thing we should know. Okay. Now electric field is applied at EI, it experiences a torque. Whenever any dipole is kept in an electric field, it experiences a torque always. Okay. And torque is tau K. That means if electric field is EI, then torque is tau K. Clear? And when subjected to another field, and then this dipole after that subjected to another electric field which has value E1J. I am not going to write the magnitude. It experiences a torque which is equal to T2 is equal to minus T1. Okay. In this way it is given. So we have to find the angle between dipole and electric field. Here it is under root 3. Clear? E2. And it is E1. Now I am going to rub the question and going to explain you the concept behind this. We have to find the angle between the dipole and the electric field. Okay. Now this is our electric field. Okay. And a dipole is kept over here, for example. Okay. So when any dipole is kept in an electric field, it experiences a torque which has value PE sine theta. Clear? This is the formula for torque. This is the formula for torque. Okay. So what is theta? Theta is the angle between the dipole and the electric field. Theta is the angle between the dipole and the electric field. Now it is given here in first case, when electric field is in the direction EI. EI means electric field is in the direction X-axis, EI. Then torque experience in TK. In our X-axis, this is X, this is Y, and this is our Z-axis. Z-axis is for K direction. Z-axis is for K direction, just always remember. And Y-axis for J. And X-axis for I. So when the dipole is kept along EI, value of electric field is EI, then it experiences a torque in the K direction, TK, that means Z direction. And so for example, the angle between them is theta and the value of torque is TK. Okay. Now it is also given when value of electric field is EIJ, that means now it is experiences in this direction and its value is under root 3 EJ. Clear? EJ. That means now here what is the angle between them? We have 90 minus theta. Clear? And torque is T2 is equal to minus T1. That means but the magnitude of torque 1 is equals to magnitude of torque 2. Okay. Now see how we calculate them. How we solve this question. This is the whole concept which I want to explain before solving this question. We should know, and if we don't have these things mind and clear, so I want to explain you. So now here torque is equal to PE sine theta. Now in second case, when it is in J direction, it becomes PE sine 90 minus theta. That means it becomes PE cos theta. Clear? So this should be noted. Okay, it becomes PE cos theta. Now one thing more. Here the value of E is what? PE sine theta. Because it is I, EIJ. So simply EI. In case of PE sine 90 minus theta, the value of E is under root 3I. That means it becomes P under root 3I cos theta. This is the value of torque 2. Clear? It is given that torque 2 is equal to minus T1. But their magnitude should be equal. So we can equate their magnitude. Clear? So I am going to equate their magnitude. We have PE sine theta is equals to P under root 3 cos theta magnitude. Clear? P get cancelled. E get cancelled. That means sine theta over cos theta is equals to under root 3. That means tan theta is equal to under root 3. And when we have tan theta under root 3, then angle theta is 60 degree. So the angle between the dipole and the electric field in this case is 60 degree. Okay. Now I am going to another question. Now watch another question. Temperature of room of volume 30 meter cube increases from 17 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. If atmospheric pressure is 1 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, if Ni and Nf are the number of molecules before and after, find the change in number of molecules in the room. Just analyze the question that in the room, number of molecules we have to find where its volume is 30 meter cube and there is a change in temperature 17 degrees Celsius to 27 degrees Celsius. That means initial temperature of the room is 17 degrees Celsius and final is 27 degrees Celsius. If atmospheric pressure is 1 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, okay, so we have to find change in number of molecules in the room. So in this question, we have the volume is equals to 30 meter cube, temperature 1 is 17 degrees Celsius, temperature 2 is 27 degrees Celsius, pressure is 1 into 10 to the power 5 Pascal, and Ni and Nf, initial number of molecules, initial, and this is final number of molecules. In these cases, we must know value of R is 8.3. Okay. Now I am going to solve this question. Just watch it carefully. Now we have a formula. PV is equals to nRT. Okay. But these are the number of moles and here we have number of molecules. So this formula gets converted as N over NaRT. Where Na is what? Na is Avogadro's number. I think you know its value, 6.023 into 10 to the power 23. Okay. Now there is a change. That means here we have to find this N. For our formula, we have PV is equal to initial NaRT, and for final we have PV is equal to NFRT over Na. We have to find the difference between final minus initial molecules in the row. So we have to subtract both of them. So we have PVNA over R. These all things are common in both of them. That means it is T1, this is T2. So we have 1 over T2 minus 1 over T1. I think you can adjust this. When we take common N from here, we have PV NA over RT. So all these terms are constant for both the initial and final condition. So I will take this common outside and we have to just subtract T2 minus T1. Okay. Now just solve all these things and see how we get the answer. So delta N is equals to, what is the value of pressure? This is 1 into 10 to the power 5. That means I simply write 10 to the power 5. Now volume is 30 meter cube. Now Avogadro number, I told you earlier, 6.023 into 10 to the power 23 over R. That means 8.3. Now T1 minus T2. But they should be Kelvin. So just change it. 17 plus 273. We have 290, and here I have 300. That means 1 over 300 minus 1 over 290. You just evaluate this and find the answer for me. Just evaluate. Now I am going to evaluate this. Just write 30 into 6.023 into 10 to the power. Just add them, 28 over 8.3. Here I have 290 minus 300 over 290 into 300. Okay. Now I am just multiplying them. That means I just remove this. We have 60. That means 0, 3 3s are 9, 3 2s are 6, 0, 3 6 are 18 over 83, and here this wait, I have the wrong thing. 0, 3 3s are 9, 3 2s are 6, 0, 3 6 are 18. We have two decimals. Here I have, okay, 10 to the power 28. Now minus 10 into 290 into 300. Clear? I don't do the multiplication. It must be complicated. 30 into 6.023. Okay. Now we have minus sign over this, so we put here minus. This is 1. Now this 0 get cancelled. This 3 is also cancelled. That means we have 10. That means we have 2 zeros. So here I just write minus 2. So all this is get cancelled and we left over with 29. That means 6.023 over 8.3 into 29 into 10 to the power 28, 129, 29 minus 2. That means 27. Now we have to solve only this. Okay, just go to solve. Just solve it. I am going to opt for these types of questions also, because if some children have some problems in order to solve this. So here we have 10 to the power 27. Okay. Now I am going to solve 6.023 into 8.3 into 29. So I just multiply this. 83 into 29. 9 3s are 27, 2 9 8s are 72, 73, 74. The 6 2 8s are 16. We have 7 4 6 10, 7 7 14, 10 24. We have 240. That means 6.023 over 240.7. So I just round it off 241. Okay. Now just dividing both of them, we have I just ignore 6023 241. That means I just ignore it. The point 0 0 0. 2 3 is 6. So just write it 2 2 8 and 4. Clear? So we left over with 10 1 2, that is 8, that is 1 and 1 and 0. 2 5 is 10. So I have minus 0.025 into 10 to the power 27. So we have minus 26 25, 2.5 10 to the power 26. This is our right answer. So I am going to proceed to another question. Now watch this question on our screen. In a coil of resistance 100 ohm, a current is induced by changing the magnetic flux. Find change in flux if there is a relationship between current and time shown in form of graph. Okay. So in these types of cases, we know when there is change in flux, there an induced current is developed, an induced EMF is developed in that case, and by there we find the value of change in flux, and we also use the relationship which is given by Faraday between induced EMF and change in flux. So all these things we should keep in mind before solving these types of questions. Now see here, that means coil has a resistance of 100 ohm, only this is given. Clear? And we have to find a change in flux, that is d psi by dt. Okay, so d psi, that means. Okay, now we know induced current. Induced current is equals to E over V. So E is, what is E? E is induced EMF. Induced EMF. And from the Faraday's law, induced EMF is d psi over dt. Clear? So d psi is equals, we can put the value of EMF over here. So we have I is equals to d psi over dt into, sorry, it is R. Now for d psi we have I dt into R. So this is flux and we have to calculate total change in flux. So how we do that? Just see, we just integrate this equation. That means psi is equals to integration of I dt into R. So this is the relationship we got here. That means if we have to find the change in flux and induced current and resistance etc. are given, so in this way we proceed. That means take R is constant, I dt. So when we integrate, we find total induced current with the time, and if it is expressed in form of our graph, so the area of graphs gives you the value of integration of I dt. So it is in the form of triangle where the value of current is 10 ampere and the time is 0.5. So area of graph is what? Half base into height. Our simplest method. So that means half. In the base we have time, that means 0.5, and in the height it is given as the current. Current is 10 amperes. Okay. So we have 2.5. Clear? Now we have to find the change in flux. So I just put the value of 2.5 over here. That means R into 2.5, and the value of R given, that is resistance, is 100 ohm. That means 100 into 2.5. So we have 2 250 Weber. Okay, so in this way we solve these types of questions. Just note it down. I am proceeding to next one. Now see, there's another type of question which is from collision, that is moment of inertia. The particle of mass m1 having velocity v. There's a particle which has the mass m and velocity v collides with a particle b having mass m by 2 but velocity 0. Okay, they both collide with each other and the collision is elastic. So after collision, if it has mass m but velocity becomes, I think, va, and this one m by 2, the velocity of b becomes vb. Let it be. Okay, but we have to find the ratio of wavelengths of de Broglie wavelength, lambda a over lambda b. Okay, in case of lambda de Broglie wavelength, we have the formula lambda is equal to h over mass into velocity. So mass in each case we know, but the velocity after collision we don't know. We have assumed that va over vb. So we have to find the values of va over vb. So we just solve it, and I'm going to solve and explain you. Okay, just watch on the blackboard. And one thing more is it is given here in the question, the collision is elastic. When the collision is elastic, whenever two things collide with each other, there must be some coefficient of restitution developed in between them. It must be, remember. And what is coefficient of restitution? For example, I just throw a ball on the ground, it comes bounce back, and after some time it goes to, its velocity will become 0. But in case of inelastic collisions, but in case of elastic collisions, its velocity will not become 0. That means coefficient of restitution is equals to 1. So in this case, it is also given that coefficient of restitution is elastic, that is coefficient of restitution is equals to 1. And one thing also I want to explain you before before explaining the question, the formula of coefficient of restitution. I just write it, you just note it down. Coefficient of restitution VB minus VA UA minus UB. VB is the final velocity of the second block, VA is the final velocity of first block, UA is the initial velocity of first block, and UB is the final velocity of second block. So I am just writing the whole value. For elastic collision, coefficient of restitution is 1, and here I have VB minus VA because I exempted the same things. But in case of UA, initial velocity of first block, I exempted V and UB, that is, this is UB, that is 0. So from here I got a relationship V is equals to VB minus VA. This relationship I got, which I used in this question. Okay, now just watch. Whenever two things collide with each other, then according to law of conservation of mass, that is the change in momentum is conserved. That is momentum before collision and momentum after collision. Say mass of block A is m, mass of block B is m by 2. Velocity of A is VA and velocity of block B VB. Clear? Now initial momentum is equals to final momentum, we know. So that means mass into m1 u1 plus m2 u2 is equals to m1 v1 plus m2 v2. Clear? So here I put m, u1 is what? V. Here m by 2, u2 it is at rest. Second body is at rest before collision, so I put it 0. Now here m, it is VA, here m by 2 VB. This is the required relationship. Now we have to solve, just take the m common from each side. So we have V is equals to, it will become 0, VA plus VB by 2. VB by 2. Now multiply by 2, we have 2V is equal to 2 times VA plus VB. And also we have a relation V is equal to VB minus VA, which I proved you earlier. Now after solving these two equations, we will got the values for A and velocity after collision of both the blocks. Okay. Now just watch over here. We have 2V is equals to 2 times VA plus VB, and V is equals to minus VA plus VB. Now I just multiply it by 2. So we have 2V is equals to 2VA plus VB, 2V minus 2VA plus 2VB. It get cancelled. We have 4V is equals to 3VB. That means from here we have VB is equal to 4 times V over 3. This is the relationship we got here. So write it here. VB is equal to 4y by 3. I write the relationship here, VB. That means I solved these two equations. Now we have to also find the value for VA. That means velocity of the block A after the collision. So I put the value here. V is equal to VB minus VA. In any of equations, we just put the value. So we have VB 4V minus 0.3 minus VA. That means value of VA is equals to 4V upon 3 minus V. We have 4V minus 3V over 3. So we left over with VA is equals to V over 3. Clear? Now we have to find the relationship between de Broglie wavelength for the two blocks. That means lambda A over lambda B. According to our question, we know that formula of lambda is mass into velocity, VA, mass of A block, lambda over mass of B block, VB. Both get cancelled. So lambda A over lambda B is equal to mass of B block, final velocity of B block, mass of A block, and final velocity of A block. So whenever these types of questions are asked, you can also remember this formula. So now I am going to put all the values here. Substituting the values, we have lambda A over lambda B, mass of B block. Mass of B block is m by 2 and mass of A block is m. B, final velocity of B block is 4 V into 3, and here we have V into 3. Okay, I just substituting each values, which is a cut down, it is also cut down. So we left over with 4:2, that is 2:1. There is a relationship between both wavelengths. De Broglie wavelength is 2:1. Okay, now just watch another question. Now just watch another question on our screen, and nothing is given here. and there's a representation of energy levels on y-axis, and some atom or particle just jumps from energy level E to 4e by 3, and it gives the radiations having wavelength of lambda 2, and in another case it jumps from E to 2e energy level, and it gives the radiations which have the wavelength of lambda 1, and we have to find the ratio of the wavelengths emitted in these two types of radiations. Actually, this question in physics comes in the topic of the modern physics, and here also we see that de Broglie wavelength both have applications in case of collisions and also in case of our hydrogen spectrum, that is energy level. That means here I will watch that the relationship between the emitted wavelength and the energy which radiates. Generally, we know that de Broglie wavelength is lambda is equal to h over m v mass and 2 velocity. We also known as E is equals to mc square. Clear? So we have, this is c, that means that is our velocity. Clear? So we also know that from here E square, that means we have E over V is mv. Okay, now put this value V, that is c, speed of light, you can take this. Okay, so I just put E by c over here, so our relationship becomes lambda is equal to hc over E. This is also a relationship of de Broglie wavelength. So whenever we use the de Broglie wavelength in case of finding the wavelengths emitted during the spectral lines, we just remember this formula. And now by this formula we can easily see that h is the Planck constant, which is always constant, and c is the velocity of light, 3 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So here we observe that lambda is inversely proportional to the emission, that means energy level, energy radiated. So using this relationship we can easily find the relationship between lambda 1 and lambda 2. So I want to say that whenever you got questions in your examinations, just try to understand the question firstly, and just derive the relationship between different physical quantities which is given and which is asked in your question. And then the question is always very easy and clear, and trick is in front of you. So we have lambda 1 over lambda 2 is equals to 1 over E1 over 1 over E2. That means lambda 1 over lambda 2 is equals to delta E2 over delta E1. Okay, now just find out both the values and we can easily solve it. In case of E2, we have C, that is 4 by 3, and E. So we have to calculate the difference between them, minus E, and here I have from 2E to E. Clear? So we have the relationship 4E minus 3E over 3 into E. That means E over 3E, that means ratio between lambda 1 is lambda 2 is 1:3. So in this way we solve these types of questions. I will take some more questions in another series which I bring you afterwards, and I will give you the link of the playlist where I put all the series together which contain different series. That they are also of maths and also of physics, and I will also add some series regarding chemistry, and you can got that test series from the link given in the playlist. If you want to watch them, if you want to study them, you just go to them. Okay, if you like my contents, like my way of teaching, and like the methods explaining, which that means the way I am solving each and every questions, and also the giving you concept there along with the question, then please subscribe. It will motivate me. Please share with your friends so that education will be spread in all over the world. Thank you. That's all.